Good evening and welcome to the Diablo 3 podcast. We are online at DiabloInkGamers.com. I'm your host Flux, and I'm joined on the show tonight by Nerdwords.
Hello.
Possibly Wards. And by MJNspace.
MJNspace, hello.
Well, see, we have this whole debate if it's the RORG or the RORG, and we ended up going with RORG, I think. Therefore, you are MJNspace.
Okay, just this one.
We are talking about the PTR, a little bit of testing we've been doing lately, about my Natalya set that I'm enjoying a lot with my Strafe build, and Nerdwards is doing a Crusader to make up for our horrible Crusader disses last week, which we'll be making more of when we get to laugh about Katniss later on. And we're talking about the a few miscellaneous things on the new patch 2.0 coming up, and then we're going to get into a whole discussion about the Josh Mosqueira gave a cool talk at the GDC this week about sort of what is it called, the redemption of Diablo 3 or something like that, or it was kind of an expanded version of one of the panels at BlizzCon this year, which talked about sort of all the problems that D3 had at launch and how they've fixed those and corrected them and improved upon them heading into ROS, somehow without ever actually blaming anybody for the problems in the first place. It's very subtly done that way. I'm really more interested in the blame myself than the problem solving, but that's probably don't work at Blizzard, amongst other reasons. And we're going to talk about the 7 pillars of the initial design for Diablo 3 and stuff Josh talked about, and the pillars for the console and the pillars for Reaper of Souls and where it's going in the future and improvements and all that kind of stuff. And probably say mean things about someone whose last name starts with a W. Nerdwords were anyway. He's mean like that.
I'm very, very...
But first off, PTR testing stuff. Have you guys been doing anything interesting on the PTR? Why don't you start off here, MJNspace?
Let's see. So, I barely got into the wire, right? Like, I just had gotten enough gear that I felt like I could really test the Demon Hunter. And I was like, all right, this is awesome. I got my Demon Hunter gear. Okay, I got to go right now, but I'll come back. And then I wanted to, like, maybe jump on the Barb or maybe onto the Monk, and lo and behold, the buff was gone. So the only thing I really got to test a lot.
Did you like the advance warning on the buff ending they gave us?
Yeah, but, you know,
oh wait, there was no advance warning. It was just gone.
Yeah, but the thing is, I get why they kind of took it away like that. I mean, because a lot of people were just using the PTR as a loot pinata, and they didn't really even care about testing. They just loved drops, and it was kind of messing people who actually wanted to test. It was messing up their ability to even get on the server at all. So
you see that with the drop in queue times too.
Yeah. No,
well, the queue times were gone on Monday though, and then the buff went away on Tuesday. So at least for me on Monday, I had no problem creating games. After all weekend, it was terrible, but
anyway.
But there is this whole like, oh, I'm elitist. I'm gonna really test stuff, and all those other dirty noobs are just on there having fun with a loot pinata. It's like, really? I think probably those people think you're a dirty noob on there for the loot pinata also, and they're the real testers. We'll see. But anyway, continue there, MJNspace.
Yes. Well, let's see. It sounds like, you definitely went over a lot of the stuff that I tested already in your previous podcast, but just in short, I definitely think Unhallowed is way underpowered. The only redeeming quality is it works with Crider Shot, and that's fun, but it's still weak. I think of other non-DH related stuff, I think that the secret OP of this whole patch is Ring of the Zodiac. Like, there is so much possibility with that new upgrade you get on the ring of just stuff.
And why don't you mention what that is for our listeners who don't know?
Okay. Basically, anytime you use any resource, Ring of the Zodiac randomly reduces the cooldown of one of your skills that has a cooldown by 1 second. So what this has resulted in is, one, let's say you're running like the new Natalya set. If you run the new Natalya set with that ring, and you only have one thing on cooldown, which is basically Rain of Vengeance, you can fire Rain of Vengeance faster than... So it's doing damage on screen multiple times while you're using it. So it's coming off cooldown before the first one you fired is even done doing damage. It's absolutely ridiculous. And then I don't have all the gear on the Barb yet, but just doing some testing on the Barb, like if you use Wrath of the Berserker and you use Whirlwind and you're just spinning around the map, like with the new set, I want to get the new set, I want to get the new version of, what is it, I think it's Skullgraft. The new version of Skullgraft, I think it ups the damage on Whirlwind by like 400% or something.
Yeah.
So basically, I want to be spinning around the map with Whirlwind, blowing everything up with Wrath of the Berserker running, so you get plus 50% damage on top of that, plus this other ridiculous set of bonuses, and then Ring of the Zodiac is going to be knocking the cooldown off of Wrath of the Berserker by 1 second every time a tick of your Fury gets taken away. So basically, you're just going to be spinning all over the map, just decimating everything. So I think that is the item. I don't know if they realize just how good that is yet. So we'll see how that goes.
And it's funny because they just made some changes in the upcoming patch about cooldowns. You know, they're trying to avoid permanent states of some things.
And we've got
So they're
now.
making the cooldowns not start until the skill effect ends for a number of new buffs. You know, the smoke screen, and there's a couple of monk, serenity, and some other stuff like that. But obviously, if you have this item that can reduce your cooldown so quickly anyway.
Yeah, it's going to be. We'll have to see. I definitely. I know on the Demon Hunter, it's pretty sick, and I definitely want to test it on other classes.
So what have you been up to on none of that makes any sense to you, right, Nerd Words? Because all you play are wizards.
Right.
That's all you'll ever.
Until
that's all you
recently,
will ever play.
Right. I'm reformed though. Remember? I'm reformed. No, I.
So on last week's show, we talked about every new class and new set, except no one had played the Crusader yet. So we had a lot of jokes about the Crusader. And I was instant messaging to Katniss, our occasional guest, who was last I checked the #1 overall Crusader hardcore on U.S. server. I mean, greater of 43 or 44 or something like that. And apparently he had a little setback this week, but he was like, "Oh, that sucks. I should have been on the show. You dissed the Crusader the whole time." And he was going to be on this week, but apparently PAX East is this weekend. And also he had to go out and shovel his driveway in Boston of another 5 feet of snow, so he was not able to make it with us tonight. But you are picking up the mantle for him, Nerd Words.
No, not even close. I didn't even touch the Crusader on the PTR. In fact, my Crusader doesn't even have full icons yet, but I do have a Crusader at 70. It's kind of a miracle for me.
And what do you think of the playstyle compared to your beloved wizard?
I hate it right now. It was fun leveling up, and like some of the skills are really cool, and I really like the way the class feels like it could be cool, but I'm kind of pigeonholed into this like Blessed Hammer build right now, which is cool and fun. It kind of throws back to Diablo 2, but it's
It throws back.
yeah, exactly, pun intended.
You're throwing hammers.
Yeah, and then but yeah, it doesn't feel. I've been playing the wizard for so long. It's a big gameplay change. It's cool. It's different, but I'm using I got tired of running like low difficulty things, so I'm still running my wizard and just using my blood shards to try to get full icons before I switch back to the Crusader at this point. But hopefully it feels
finding all that useful strength gear too. Right?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
I will say I did get the bombardment belt, the new seasonal legendary, and that thing's pretty sick. Because it does. You don't even have to be attacking. It just randomly targets things. So you're just walking around the screen and it's bombing stuff. And it does pretty significant damage. But yeah, it's pretty cool. It's just way different. I gotta adjust for sure.
And Crusader is all about cooldowns. I mean, I hadn't played a Crusader. I played a fair amount during the beta actually, and that we were all trying to do Zealadins. You know, we thought they were a paladin basically.
Right.
And you could do a little bit of Blessed Hammer, and mostly it was sort of a melee class you would occasionally drop a bomb on. The skill that had the 3 beams of death from the sky was very popular at that point. It was way overpowered at one point in the beta.
Right.
And I haven't really played one since launch. And whenever I see a video of one, I played some at the BlizzCon demo last year. You played that one as well, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, I'm like, what is this? It's a total caster. Like, there's no melee skills at all the way they had it built for the BlizzCon demo. And you just sort of run around and blast things, and there's
they had the horse
stuff
build
attack.
on the demo, right?
Yeah, and it felt like a caster. I mean, it felt nothing like the melee character I was playing in the beta. So obviously there were a lot of big changes to the Crusader right after release, and some people like it and think he's very powerful.
Right.
And you're trying to hop on that cookie cutter bandwagon, right?
Yes, I mean, kind of, yeah. I mean, I really want to try out that condemned build that's going around because it just sounds awesome, but it requires so many legendaries. It's going to take a while to get it up there. And I'm more focused on like pushing my wizard through greater rifts anyway, so it's kind of just something I do when I get burnt out. But I don't know. The thing that I do like about the Crusader is that how much flexibility you have at the top end, because there are several different builds that are viable because their set is such a generic bonus, because it's 2 Icons, and Icons can really... Or Icons gives you permanent Accurat pretty much with the right cooldown reduction, which makes any build really viable at a certain difficulty.
So you were at BlizzCon last year, Nerdwords, and you played the wizard build with the slow time and the frozen orbs, and you thought it was the most awesome thing. You read this whole article about how great it was, and now it's on the PTR, and you're playing a Crusader on live.
Yes.
and hating it.
Yes.
Why aren't you playing your slow time wizard build on the PTR?
I'm actually I'm avoiding it completely. I haven't even tried to farm for it. Like I've gotten 2 of the pieces on PTR, and I'm not even going to try. I don't want to touch it until it feels good because it felt really good at the BlizzCon demo, but it was such a low difficulty that of course it did. So I'm really hoping that the next round of patches they adjust it because it's just not it's just not there, man.
So you've heard reports from people who have used it and you didn't like what they said.
I've heard enough to be convinced. I mean, like I haven't heard a positive thing about it. I don't think. I mean, it just sounds like it's in a really bad spot. And yeah, all the especially the Wizard forums, like they've been very active about discussing it. The Viscera clan had a whole like Twitch thing where they were discussing it and stuff, and it was really interesting. So they're trying to the community's trying to come up with solutions to fix the set and make it feel more engaging. It's hard, and I think, I don't know, somebody posted, one of the Wizard veterans over there, might have been JH, somebody posted something about how it's hard to be excited about the set in retrospect because it's based around such a bad skill. Like, slow time's cool, but it's not like, I don't know. It feels kind of forced.
Have you tried the wizard set out in MJNspace?
No, I have not. Like I said,
Have you tried a wizard at all?
Yes. Oh, yes. I really like.
I feel they should be removed. Do you check to remove them from the game entirely just to break their words hard?
Well, I don't know. They are too busy, being what is it? Astounded by themselves all the time. Maybe
yes.
they just
oh my God.
need to be removed.
Yes.
But
So
I
much
do.
astonishment.
No. Actually, that's probably my second favorite class in the game. I like overall the way they feel. I definitely agree that I don't think slow time was generally a skill that most players would pick up, and so trying to force that skill on them is kind of a weird thing in that set. But I like the way.
Well, see, and it felt good at BlizzCon because when you drop that orb like on the difficulty you were on, it just melted everything. So it felt like an offensive skill, but you kind of get yourself in hairy situations when you drop that many slow time bubbles, like because there's so many projectiles coming at you, it's hard to move. I mean, it's just been stretched out by everyone by now, but I mean, at least Tal Rosh's feels good. I'm just curious to see how that's going to change. There was a post recently saying that they were going to increase the duration of the buffs on Tal Rosh's set, which should make that really, really interesting, but I don't know if they're going to nerf the damage to compensate, so we'll see. But it's doing really big numbers right now, and but the playstyle just feels kind of weird and wonky, and I think that's mostly the buff duration. So
yeah, we had a whole guest article about that from a guy testing it. This guy Timesync is in our hardcore clan, and he was like, it's really powerful, but it's absolute critical mass button mashing all over again.
Right, exactly.
You try to cast 4 different elements as fast as possible, so you get these mega damage meteors. But all you're doing in the meantime is just like you're hitting all your, you're just left hand, just jab, 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 just get all the skills out really quick.
Right.
And he was saying, I like the idea of it, but it's not fun to use.
Yeah. I mean, it would be.
But since when does fun matter? If it's effective, that's all that matters.
Right. I would.
For a lot of people, that is fun. Effective equals fun when they see stuff blowing up on the screen. So yeah, for them, like it.
But yeah, I think that I would like to see, like, I don't know if they would do it, but if they would revert the proc ratio on Towels back to what it was, because it used to proc off like things like Magic Weapon and Spark Flint and like your elemental damage on your weapon, things like that. But it doesn't proc, like you have to physically cast the skill for it to proc, so it doesn't work the same way that the buff does. So I don't know, it's really weird because you actually, like Frost Nova doesn't even proc it. So like there's just certain skills that work and certain skills that don't work with it. So you're kind of pigeonholed into doing like, Shock Pulse, which is not going to be used for damage at all. You're just using it for that buff. So it's kind of like, it just seems like a wasted effort and you're hitting all these buttons that are completely useless. But I don't know, but it is a different play style and it does feel really good and it's capable of pushing really high. So I'm excited about it. I just want to see it tweaked a little.
So when you look at the set and you see it's not working, you say, I bet they didn't see that coming. As your wizard says every 7 seconds when you play the deck.
Right. Well, and the thing that is weird for me is you're talking about the Obsidian Ring and the Zodiac too. They took away, from the wizard, they took away critical mass, which was literally that ring, just using crit as the ratio instead, because it was too powerful, right? And then they also, and what was their reasoning? They wanted no more permanent Archon. Like they wanted to remove that perma freeze. They wanted to remove that permanent Archon. So you're seeing all these other classes get, perma Wrath of Berserker put in their new set, and cons has always been permanent, and it's just now the cooldown reduction thing. It's just I don't know where their philosophy is going, because they had one philosophy, maybe it was inadvertent, but it seems like that set was pretty clear on keeping Wrath up all the time.
I think their philosophy has really shifted, and whereas before they were worried about people being too powerful, Now they're just like, we just want all the classes to kind of have these OP options. And even the changes they've made, like Flux was saying, to the defensive skills, those are skills that they want people to use. They don't want you to be able to always be able to avoid death and taking damage. But I think when it comes to being able to pump out damage, I don't really think they care very much anymore. So like if that skill, if critical mass had been left in the game as it was until this day, right now, they wouldn't care right now as much as they did before. So I just think that's their shit.
And you can't design like that because that's obviously retrospective. But it's just weird to see, as a person who's played a wizard for so long, that we keep having things taken from our class because they're overpowered and then given to everybody, and we can't really benefit from it. It's just really interesting to see it happen. But I think
you're going to benefit from that ring if it comes out the way it is right now.
I'll be really shocked if that goes to live. I'm really curious to see how that works out, because that seems like it could really break the game in certain ways. I mean, I know there's some really cool builds that are going out there with it right now, and I would be interested to play it for sure. But I don't know. We'll see. Yeah.
You would play it, but you're busy with your Crusader on live, so you can't get on the PTR and try it out.
I think I've literally put like 7 or 8 hours. No, I'm over 20 now. I'm over 20 hours on him. I did some riffs with him.
So it takes like half an hour when you switch around to gamble 500 shards. So that adds up, I guess.
Yeah, well,
this takes like 2 minutes actually.
Well, I was running riffs with him, but I was running like tournament, 1, 2, 3, whatever. When my wizard can run tournament 6 riffs in like 3 or 4 minutes, and I'm watching my Paragon levels like kind of stalemate because I'm running low difficulty very slowly, while my friends are still doing T6 or high greater riffs. And I was like, you know what? No, I'm just gonna switch back to my wizard and just give my guy blood shards.
Well, why aren't you doing what everybody does, which is you just find a friend that wants wizard gear who has a Crusader, and you guys just trade gear?
I don't have anybody that plays a Crusader on my friends list right now that is not a hardcore player. So the problem I have is that most of the people that I'm like friends with on BattleNet that aren't real life friends are people from the site and from other sites and stuff, and they all play hardcore. So it's I play.
We'll suck you in sooner or later, dude.
You will. It will happen eventually. I'm dreading it because of moments like what Leviathan's going through right now, I'm sure.
So I mentioned what happened to him. For people who don't know, he's our Leviathan. He also goes by Katniss on our podcasts, and he was the very high rated. He streams, and he's a very high rated Crusader, and bad things happened.
Yeah, well, I just saw that he died. I don't know how it happened or why it happened, but I feel bad for him.
I'm sure it was lag or disconnect, or his wireless mouse batteries went out or something.
No, it was lag. Actually, I remember someone had said that it was lag. So
here's your pro tip for hardcore deaths: it's always lag.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I
usually
hear.
Right when that arcane frozen went off next to you. I would have been fine if not for lag. Yes, of course.
Not this podcast, but I'd love to give you a pretty harsh critique of why I don't play hardcore at some point, so you could get angry and like never ask me to be on your podcast. I don't play hardcore for a lot of reasons.
So speaking of that, did you guys watch any of the live stream this week? I mean, I didn't really watch it, but I sort of took a dictation of it basically. I didn't actually watch it.
Yeah, I actually just read the dictation. I didn't have time to watch it this week. Yeah, I'm busy with work.
And somebody in the comments was like, I watched 5 minutes and saw they were playing hardcore and quit watching. And I was like, well, that doesn't really make a difference. I actually didn't watch any of it. I just listened to it, because I had the Word document covering up the screen. I was just typing while I was listening to it, basically.
Right.
Because you're not going to learn anything. I mean, I've seen T6 riffs. I play them myself every day, so I don't need to watch someone play that to learn things. I wanted to hear what the dev would say about stuff, and he said a few interesting things.
Right.
The only thing that broke my heart was him mentioning that the progress orbs in regular riffs on the PTR is a bug. I was like, I love those.
That's a bummer.
Yeah, I did actually kind of like it too. I'm not gonna lie.
I don't even care if they gave you any function. Just drop one purple one whenever a boss dies. Because I mean, it's so easy to lose track of bosses. It's nice to have a little memento. It's you actually kill one and he's over here. Sometimes you get these busy screens and they're jumping around, and you actually lose track of if you've killed it or not yet.
I really liked the feel of rifts on the PTR right now, just because the shorter length of the rift, and then the orbs into, even if it's a bug, I equate it to in Diablo 2 the difference between a Bale run and a Pindle Skin run. It feels like you're doing Pindle runs right now, when the rifts before were Bale runs if you were clearing them all the way through.
Yeah, they're really quick. Plus, then there's no 30-second cooldown afterwards.
Right, which is really cool too. Yeah,
in solo games at least.
There's a lot of quality of life changes I really like on the PTR right now.
There's a danger of that.
I agree.
People should notice a danger of that. I had that today. I finished a rift, and I had, there were 92 shards left on the ground or whatever, because I was full.
Yeah.
So I went to town. I clicked on the dude to close the rift, went over to gamble, and the rift closed. I was like, oh man. Because usually you do that, and it starts a 30-second timer, and you have time to gamble, whatever, and then go back and grab the blood shards.
Yeah.
I've done it a million times, and of course you do it now, and the rift closes instantly. You're like, well, there went 92 blood shards.
And
Obviously, it doesn't matter. It's on the
before.
PTR.
I've done that before. You go to gamble and you click the wrong NPC on accident, and it was like, oh well, at least I've got 30 seconds to jump back in and grab the stuff I left on the ground.
Yeah, not anymore.
Yeah,
it goes away.
No longer.
The other danger of that, they fixed the gym upgrading, which everyone finally wanted that. So basically, it just does the whole stack at once.
Oh my god, that is so nice! I'm so glad they did that. Yeah, it was.
And I'd gotten I'm not I'm not sure when I'm going to get a P break anymore. Because currently, you do a bunch of rifts and you have like 75 marquee gems in your stash, and you just go into in your inventory. I hold marquee in my inventory, and then I put the the Imperials in the stash.
Right. Right.
So at some point, I just go and upgrade 50 or 75 at once, and just put all those in the of each stack. And I'm used to doing that. And it takes a couple minutes, and you go get a drink or whatever. And you do it now on the PTR, and it's over instantly. So you will never get a P break again. You need a catheter pretty soon. With no 30-second cooldown after rifts and no instant gym upgrades, you're never going to get up.
Yeah, there's no down. I do like that though. They're cutting the downtime between rifts shorter, so that you're spending more time in rifts, which is nice. But then they also kind of shorten the rifts, so I don't know. Maybe it's just an equal balance, but it's nice either way. I like it a lot. But
here's the warning, the danger of that. If you click the wrong gem to upgrade, it will do the entire stack.
Oh yeah, I didn't think about that.
Well, why would you never not upgrade a gem? I mean, come on.
Well, I just leave them all sitting as Imperials because you need those for crafting.
And they take up more space.
And then occasionally I'll do a big stack up to Flawless Royal, right? So whenever you go to the gym interface, I've got 240 Imperials of every stack in my stash, and if you click that button by accident, you will do all of those into a Flawless Imperial instantly. Man, and then what are you going to craft with? You got 50 Flawless Imperials and 0 regular Imperials, and you need Imperials to do your rings, right?
Right. But I don't know. I mean, they're so easy to get.
If you did it before, previously did it by accident, you would do 1 or 2 and say, oh, oops, I'll hit the cancel button and move on.
Yeah.
But make sure you click the correct one. I almost did that today. I almost did, 360 Imperial Emeralds into, at once. I was like, oh, that would have sucked, because then I would have had a problem with my next roar.
The best part about both of these things that we were talking about is that in both cases, the best solution is just to pay attention. Just pay attention. Don't be in a hurry.
Yeah. How often do you pay attention when you've done 20 riffs in an hour?
You're in a 5-hour session, half asleep, just clicking buttons.
And I'm playing hardcore. I don't pay attention to that. So
yeah, right.
I try not to die. But that was my point on the live stream. Somebody mentioned in comments that they saw they were hardcore. They weren't hardcore and just stopped watching. And I get so twitchy watching softcore people play because they're just so casual, standing next to Moltons and they're about to blow up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They have 20% of hit points and they're not bothering to heal. And I'm just like, oh my god, hit the button. It's like when you're driving with like a really bad driver and you want that invisible brake pedal on the right side of the car. You're just banging your foot on the floor mat. That's how I feel the whole time watching people play software. Like Nevelistis is running the streams, and God love her, but she dies about every 5 seconds in some of these streams. And partially because she's not geared. She's always trying a different character build for the whatever the build of the week thing is. So she's not geared up for that properly, and she's like a T3, T2, T3 character on T6 with these other people tanking through stuff. Mm-hmm. But it's like, don't stand next to the Moltons. Oh God, move! Like, oh, it doesn't matter. She dies. It's softcore.
Well, reversibly. I actually enjoy watching people play hardcore, even though I won't play it myself very much, just because they're gonna die, and it's like, oh, look at that! You just put all that time in on. I guess it's kind of that twisted enjoyment of it. You just lost all this work you put in. Your character just died. It's like to have that risk there. It's kind of fun to watch other people play the game.
Yeah.
Well, that's why it's fun to play them ourselves. But you don't play hardcore, so
no, I don't have the time to put into building characters over and over again because I get lagged out, or the one of the times when I was playing with my friend where we were just like, good thing we don't play hardcore, where you're going through I think a rift of what is it? I think Pandemonium Fortress, and the monsters can see you on the different platforms even if the platform is dark and you can't see them. So you go through the little teleporter up to the next platform where the monsters all are. And literally, you have no time to react. 6 of those imps are standing right next to the portal, and they just blow up, and we just instantly die. And we're like, oh, well, I'm really glad I wasn't playing hardcore because that would have been an instant death, and there would have been nothing we could have done about it. So yeah, I don't play hardcore for a reason. I just don't have the time for it. Anyway.
But see, every second of your game is therefore that much more interesting.
That's the theory.
You have the immortal vampires in movies are always totally bored with life and nothing makes them happy anymore. That's what it's like when you can never die. See, if you can die, then every second you cherish, and except when you're not paying attention and upgrade 240 of your Imperial Topaz. But other than that,
I don't know. I enjoy other things in the games. Just put it away.
Yeah, I was playing. Oh, the funny thing on the PTR, I was playing my. I built softcore. The last PTR session was testing for season 2 and the last patch, and so they had that gigantic. They had the 2,000% legendary drop buff, and they also had a 300% experience buff when they were testing season 2. Wanted you to make new characters, and I did that, and got to like Paragon 300 in like 2 days. I mean, it was just insane how fast you could level with every elite you kill drops a legendary, and you're getting three times the normal experience rate. You're pretty much you're in T6 in like 10 minutes. So anyway, I had these I hadn't played those characters obviously since the last PTR, and they were like Paragon 540 or something. And I had a really good Demon Hunter and a really good Monk, and I started playing those again once this new PTR went up. There's softcore easier for testing. It's only the PTR, right? Who cares? And the problem was with the 2,000% drop buff, you never get any blue materials.
Right.
Yes.
Because everything that falls out of a chest is legendary, and you just go around praying to get what's the hoarder? What the hell is the goblin? Odious Tormentor?
The Odious Collector.
Odious Collector, yeah, there you go. I know it was one of those words. But you're doing tons of enchanting because you're totally rebuilding your stuff, and you got to reroll all the skills on your shoulders and your chest and your pants and stuff, right? To try a new in your boots. And I did that a whole bunch with the Demon Hunter skills, and suddenly I was totally out of blue materials, and it's like 12 or 16 to reroll my shoulders, and you do a whole riff and you get like 3 blue materials just from the Guardian. I'm like, oh, this is bullshit, and then there was just nothing to do. I was just stuck. This was like Sunday afternoon before they turned off the buff.
Maybe that's why they turned it off. Maybe that is the reason they did.
What they did, I emailed the dev and asked him about this, and he said, oh yeah, that's an issue. We should look into that. Maybe next time. And I had already given up. I copied over my US account again, but I erased my old PTR characters because they were only on the PTR, the 2 softcores that I was playing. And I copied over my current characters, which because I had 6,000 blue materials in the stash or whatever, right? And I knew it would actually be faster to find the legendary items again with the buff than it would be to find blue materials, which seems really wrong somehow, right? And then, of course, the next day, all of the blue material enchanting costs on the PTR went down to 1 or 2 for all armor. So somebody went through and just clicked all the knobs on the spreadsheet and changed all those the whole column for enchanting costs on that for the blue ones. I'm like, oh, that was nice, but I've already copied over my characters. And the next day the buff ended anyway, so now you can find blue materials again. But so in theory, that'll remain, and we can do lots of enchanting. Obviously, you had plenty of souls for that.
Yes, lots and lots of souls. That wasn't a problem on the people.
Yeah, you got more souls than Lucifer. So, any other PTR stuff you guys want to mention? Any other ongoing testing stuff before we get into the whole, the Josh Mosqueira talk?
Well, you were talking about the net set. I actually had a list that.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. I want to talk about that too. So do your thing, and I'll talk about that afterwards.
Let's see. Okay, well, I guess I do pros and cons, starting with the pros. So obviously, like the new net set has insane burst damage. Like it's better. Its burst damage is higher than M6, and it's going to be even more ridiculous. Like once the new item comes in. They're going to add gloves to it, I think it is, right?
They're adding gloves, yes.
Okay, that means you're going to be able to use a Stone of Jordan, or you're going to be able to use a Ring of the Zodiac with a crossbow, but I'll get to that in a second. But with being able to swap that ring out is going to be really big. And then the other thing is that it's the most open set in the game right now, right? Like for the DH, I mean, like because you can use any skill with it. You were talking about using Strafe, right? But it works with Crider Shot, so you can use Elemental Arrow with Crider Shot for it. It works with like Rapid Fire. It works with pretty much everything. So as long as you can pick any skill and use it to get the cooldown on Rain of Vengeance going. But with that said, it's got awful sustain damage, and the set partially, in my opinion, doesn't make sense because you've got what is it? The hand crossbow, and the hand crossbow is a weapon that scales with attack speed. But at the same time as you've got a weapon that scales with attack speed, and you should be getting some bonus for that, you're getting a bonus to Rain of Vengeance, which is a skill that scales with weapon damage. So you're kind of sitting there scratching your head going, well, wait a minute, why would I want to use this weapon if I'm not going to be able to maximize the damage output I get from the skill? I mean, I don't know. I thought they screwed up and meant to have it use the Vengeance skill in Reaper of Souls, the one that actually like buffs your basic attacks and would scale with attack speed, but they were just like screwed up in a spreadsheet or something. So I don't know. But anyway, so it's a weird set, and there's a lot of possibilities with it, but it's kind of wonky too at the same time. I have to see.
So Natalya's was always a 5-piece set, and they added pants to make it 6 items. And now, as you said, they're adding gloves in the next patch. You still have 7 items. And of course, you need 6 for get the big bonus, or 5 with a Ring of Royal Grandeur.
Yep.
And the current set, it has hat, chest, and boots, which are the same, in every set. And it's also got a ring and a weapon. And so you have to currently have to use either the ring or the weapon along with the pants to be able to get to the 6-piece bonus. And obviously, rings are pretty tough to find a space for.
Yeah.
Especially if you have, I'm currently running with Nat's ring and a Ring of Royal Grandeur, so I have no SOJ and obviously no Abzad. So unless they can grow a 3rd arm in the next one, the Chernobyl Demon Hunter. And they're adding, as you said, they're adding gloves, which of course also overlap with all the other sets. The thing I'm going to miss about that is I'm currently running it I'm using Marauders, shoulders, and gloves because then you get the 2-piece bonus, you get the pets.
Yep.
And that is fantastic, especially with Strafe, because you have a lot of mana cost or a lot of hatred cost.
Yeah, well, the thing is, I mean, you're pretty much always going to run, I think, with the Nat set, just based off of how it works, you're always going to be running, what is the name, Bat Companion. But with 2 pieces
it's nice
of
to
the
run all the
Nat
companions,
set,
though.
yeah, exactly. Then you
get
get the 30%
bonus.
damage buff for 10 seconds, which is really significant.
And the board gives you quite a bit of toughness. I mean, that's
Yeah.
it's certainly for hardcore. That's a nice thing to have. And Ferret Bros are just so cool for the gold.
Yeah, you don't have to pick up gold when you're running regular rifts.
I mean, just having to pick up gold myself when I was playing a monk some last week and playing a witch doctor. Actually, I just made a witch doctor on live. I'm doing it basically like nerd words here, just spinning all my shards on it. The funny thing is, I was gambling for my monk and playing my demon hunter and gambling for my monk, and I found from a guardian an ancient. I'm blanking on the name, the Wave of Light staff that's BIS for every monk.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Incense torch. Yeah, so I found an ancient incense torch with a demon hunter. I'm like, well, I guess I have no excuse not to play the monk now. And then I played it, and I'm totally bored with it. It's so slow. I hate playing a monk like that. But it's powerful. You can drop like 12 pillars before you run out of from your full burst of your resource, which is lots. Even guardians die long before then usually. But so anyway, so the thing with Natalya's currently is the 6-piece bonus gives you the 5-piece. Is it 4 or 5? I forget. Gives you the Rain of Vengeance special things, and then the 6-piece is just a big buff of damage for Rain of Vengeance.
Right. It's 2, 3. It's actually is it 2, 3, 4, 6? I think that's what it is.
Yeah, because the 3-piece is the classic 7% critical hit chance,
which is a big deal. The 2 and the 3 of that is actually really, really strong.
Yeah, 2 and 3 both give you 10 more discipline each as well.
Yeah.
So you effortlessly have like 60 or 70 discipline with that set, pretty much. But what it works, as you were talking about the cooldown stuff, is Rain of Vengeance has a 30-second cooldown.
Yeah. And
it lasts from 5 to 8 seconds. Different rune effects have a little bit different duration. And when you have the 6-piece bonus, the 4-piece bonus, it's every generator you shoot takes off 2 seconds, and every spinner takes off 3 seconds. And you're talking about doing with the Obsidian Zodiac Ring, which is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm currently doing it. I don't have that. I have I have a Rorg and I have the Nat's Ring as well.
Yep.
And with that, it's 3 seconds per spinner. And I've tried it with multi-shot and with cluster arrow just for the sake of comparison, and also with rapid fire and with strafe. And obviously, rapid fire and strafe shoot lots more really quickly.
Yep.
So when I'm using strafe and just spinning fully, it's about 3 seconds to erase the entire cooldown of Rain of Vengeance. And I'm using the physical one, which lasts for 8 seconds, and it hits everything on the screen. It's sort of a seeking targeting thing.
Yeah.
So I always have at least 2 of those going, and often 3 of those going at once,
even
without the Obsidian Zodiac. And it's 80 to 110 million crits, everything it hits, and it's hitting everything in the entire screen.
Yeah.
And so I can do T6 with this, basically playing it almost like a Firebird's Wizard.
Right.
Where you're just single pass, everything dies.
Yeah, it looks, and the thing is that everything you're saying, like, it looks so good on T6, right? Like, oh my god, like the damage is crazy, everything just blows up. It's not an M6 class like set though, because when you're talking about M6, you're talking about your sentries doing like 350 million damage at a bare minimum, not even your main character when they fire. So. But it's really, really good.
Well, if you've got all 5 around the Guardian.
Yeah, all 5 on. It's really strong.
I mean, 90% of the time, you never have more than 1 sentry near anything, though, because you're going so fast, unless you're on a really high-grader rift.
Yeah, I'm talking about really high-grader rifts here. That's kind of where I'm pushing this.
Yeah, so I mean, I tested up. I did a 33 and a 34 rift with the strafe, and that was about the limit of it. I mean, you start running into resource issues because stuff doesn't die so quickly, and obviously strafe is a very high resource cost.
Yes.
And I finished a 34 with 4.5 minutes to spare. But I mean, with equivalent gear, I could do probably GR38 easily at about that same time, and with the regular cold cluster build with Marauders.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
you're running at least 3 or 4 GRs lower. But I mean, it's an awesome build for M6, for T6 and from variety. But it's not at the top end.
It's fun for variety. I think that's that's the main thing I walked away from with that set is okay. At least now for DH players, there's something else you can do. And I think overall for the game, I hope that they really do get the new sets for all the classes working well because variety is fun, right? I think he talked. We'll get to the GGC talk in a little while, but the other thing that he pointed out is that replayability, randomness is replayability, and that is so true. But the other thing that's replayability is variety. It's being able to do things differently, and try new things and have them work and be enjoyable. So yeah, I definitely hope Nats works. I hope a lot of the new sets work.
Yeah, the whole thing with Nats is the Rain of Vengeance is like 80% of your damage, It's
like 100%. It's 100% of your damage. Let's be frank.
Yeah, your other stuff is just sort of supporting Rain of Vengeance, which is why it's been useful with Strafe, because Strafe makes the cooldown go away so fast.
Yeah.
So then, of course, I'm like, oh, good, they finally got a bonus for Rapid Fire and for Strafe, and then, of course, they put in the Obsidian Ring with the new property, and that's much better than you can ever get with Strafe or the other one. So it's like, oh, great, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
They finally had a skill that inadvertently supported Strafe and Rapid Fire.
Yeah.
And they put in a military item that does much better than the same thing for no cost.
We'll see.
So I sound like a nervous talking about Wizards now, don't I? We finally get one good thing and then they take it away from us.
Yeah.
So any last PTR thoughts or testing thoughts for you, Nerdwords, before we get into the whole Josh Bashir talk?
No, I'm good. I really want the Delceres or whatever to feel a little better before I try it. So that's it. I'm back on season still that happens.
Like how you're just waiting until it gets good until you can use it.
Yeah, I don't want to have any bad memories.
You're such a vulture, dude.
I know.
You're not contributing to the testing of this.
They could just. I feel like if they just tried reverting Frozen Orb's proc rate back to what it was before they nerfed it, right at the beginning of Reaper of Souls, that would, because the damage back then was really high and everyone felt like it was too high, and they nerfed it, and now like the damage for that seems kind of like a joke that was nerfed because it's like. Not even close to what M6 or anything else was doing. If they just up that damage and then put that with the set as is, that might just help a little. I mean, I don't know. It's something.
That's the higher level set damaging stuff. More damage.
Yeah, right. Double
How do you balance the set at highest levels?
They just need to Wilson it.
Put up the numbers. Bigger numbers.
Wilson it.
Yeah, you Wilson it. You double it and then you double it again.
There you go.
Which leads us nicely into the whole Josh talk thing, because of course Jay Wilson's infamous doubled it comment was about the difficulty of Inferno.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, we tested it and we thought it was hard and we doubled the difficulty. We were like, oh, that's awesome. We want it to be so hard. And then Josh, of course, mentioned that in his chat, in his presentation from BBC, and it was like, yeah, and it was much too hard. Everyone hated the game. Which was the one thing I kind of disagree with the whole chat about, because he made it sound like the only problem with the launch was that it was too hard and that there was, error 37.
Right.
And ignoring the fact that we had a year or 2 years of controversy pre-launch, people who were really pissed about online only and about the real money auction house.
Yeah.
And they were kind of sharpening their knives and getting their Metacritic reviews ready, in January of the year before the game was even out of beta, waiting with their 0 rank scores and all pissed off about that. And then of course they got their chance. And then there was a bad launch because of the problem with the servers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because they're running the whole thing off Jay Wilson's old Casio. There's no need power. But anyway, so the main point with Josh's thing that we got into is the 7 pillars of design that they went into in Diablo 3. And I'm sure Jay Wilson kind of combined these with some other people. I don't think it was purely his idea or whatever. They were approved by others and probably streamlined and stuff. But it was funny because Josh mentioned those, and then he mentioned his 3 pillars for the console and for ROS, which are much more generic, so it's hard to even say anything specific about them, In-game for everyone is one of his pillars for ROS, which is hard to argue with, but obviously, Adventure Mode kind of does that, right?
Yeah, I think they did a pretty good job.
It's a pretty general comment, It's kind of, who's going to say, yeah, there shouldn't be an in-game for everyone. That shouldn't be in the game, It's like...
Well, it wasn't, though. It wasn't in the original game, and so, I mean,
it wasn't
they
one of the
had to
pillars
realize
either.
it. Yeah.
So anyway, I'll rattle off Jay Wilson's 7 pillars here, which he stated... I found them in an interview from right around the launch, back in May 2012. And then I noticed those again because he left the team in early 2013. I was going over some old interviews with him and, updating the wiki page and stuff, and putting a lot of really bad MS Paint artwork and stuff on it. And I noticed this whole thing of one of his, previews, and I posted a news post about that. Obviously, you can't judge the 7 pillars before the game is out. But, 9 or 10 months later, you certainly can. And we had a vote on it, and one of them got over 50% in terms of fans saying they had lived up to this pillar and it executed it adequately. So, luckily, that's the very first one. So I'll give you guys just take your turn here on this. pillar number 1, approachable or approachability. What do you think, MJNspace? Did D3 was it approachable at launch and early on?
Yeah, absolutely it was. I think they got that part right. The game, for all the problems that D3 had at launch, it was a classic Blizzard game in that it had a beautiful production quality, beautiful art, beautiful music, great voice work. The action portion of the game, I think I mentioned this to you before, the action part of the game is actually really fun. And you didn't even understand all the real underlying problems with the game when you went through it the first time on normal. So absolutely, yeah, they got that one in my opinion.
So what's your vote on approachable, Nerdbirds?
Yeah, I'd agree. I would actually say more so than any of the other Diablo games because it was way more easily integrated. Like someone who never played Diablo before could pick it up pretty easily.
Yeah, I think that's probably was very intentional. I mean, I went back and played a bunch of Diablo 2 right before Diablo 3 came out, like untwinked and stuff, and it's goddamn hard.
Oh yeah, I mean, if like I just in retrospect, like with the console version coming out and like my girlfriend and going through the whole like, hey, so this is what I do, check this out. And she caught on really quick and really enjoyed Diablo 3 on console. We played a lot of it. And so like thinking about doing that with Diablo 2, like the really convoluted skill system and like the boost. I mean, it's great for the hardcore player, but for your average person, like Diablo 3 hit the nail on the head as far as like streamlined.
Yeah, that goes directly into point 2, which is powerful heroes. So how do you think powerful heroes did in their Nerdboards?
I would say not remotely because if we're talking about launch vanilla, because launch vanilla, we felt the opposite of powerful. You felt like a wet noodle being thrown against Act 2 Inferno. I still enjoyed the game a lot, but I wouldn't say that you felt particularly powerful at that time when the game was out. Now, I would absolutely say, yeah.
So what do you think about powerful heroes for Diablo 3 vanilla? MJNspace?
I think the Barbarian was pretty damn powerful.
Yeah, but Barb was pretty okay.
Yeah, but I don't know. I mean, Inferno is what it is. And, I think everything was okay for all the classes through the first play of the game. And the bosses were hard in a good way. Like, they weren't so hard you couldn't beat them. But it was specific with certain classes in particular, namely, like, the Demon Hunter and, like, the Witch Doctor. Like, you were going to get your ass beat unless you played perfect, which I actually like. I like games that are that difficult. But no, not all the classes were powerful. So no, failure.
Well, those kind of go together with the approachable and powerful heroes thing, because you are powerful right at the start in Diablo 3.
Right.
I mean, certainly compared to Diablo 1 or Diablo 2. I mean, D2, you have no resource until like level 30, and then you're trying to find, until you get a decent ring of leech, it's like you just can't do anything except, you have like, we talk about burst damage today like it's a special thing, and that was all you had in Diablo 2. You were just picking away with single shot attacks until you could do 3 or 4 of your burst damage in a row with your one spell. Until you're much higher level and you had really good gear, and then you got super powerful in the end. And Diablo 3 at launch kind of went the opposite. Like, you were really powerful to begin with. Everyone having their own resource gave you a lot, but you could use cool skills right from the start.
Yeah.
And then once you got to the higher levels, it was like you could use all those skills, but you couldn't kill anything with them.
Mm-hmm.
And that was all about the gear, It was that whole gear check wall you got to Inferno, and it was like, I'm not finding what I need, and it's super, super hard.
Yeah.
And probably it's hard to separate the game difficulty from the difficulty of finding gear.
Yeah.
Because obviously, that if you couldn't find gear today, the game would be really hard too, right?
Right.
But you can find gear so quickly that it's hard to say.
Yeah, like it's just.
But I guess it all kind of goes together.
You have to feel like, okay, I guess what we're really talking about here is hero progression, and hero power is definitely tied to that. Mm-hmm. So yeah, there definitely was not good progression in D3.
I mean, people like difficulty now. I mean, that's the whole point of Greater Rifts. Well, not everyone maybe, but lots of people enjoy going and testing how their character can do at a really high rift. And eventually you get to a point where you just can't advance anymore. You either don't have the killing speed or you keep dying too much, or possibly both if you're in softcore.
Yeah.
But you don't feel like you feel like, okay, if I just had a little bit better gear, I could probably do this better. And you have like an objective to get it. You can find that stuff. Whereas it seemed like Inferno back in the old days of vanilla, it was just running that video of the kid running around with the chicken chasing him.
Yeah.
You're just like, I'm useless and helpless, and nothing I do can kill these monsters. I'm gonna go kick some urns and trying to find a legendary weapon out of a barrel somewhere.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
So it was hard, but it wasn't hard in a fun way. So those were the two leading vote getters. We've already this is the highlights of Diablo 3 of Jay Wilson's 7 pillars. The first one got 66% of the vote. The second one got 50% approval, and the votes was set up. You could vote for all you wanted, so it was a yes, no on every single one of these. Mm-hmm. The third option got 10% of the vote, which is a little bit below half as far as my math skills tell me. Highly customizable, which is kind of hard to argue pro or con, but you can go first with that, MJNspace. How did Diablo 3 Vanilla fare on highly customizable?
Now, I don't think that's fair. I think it was actually. I mean, it was customizable once you hit level 60, right? Because you had access to a lot of different skills, a lot of different passives, and all those skills had different runes. And so, I mean, that part was customizable. The items weren't that customizable, right? But that goes to a different.
No enchanting, certainly.
Yeah, well, no enchanting, and not only that, but because of their utter confusion on what items they wanted you to get and think were good, aka blues or yellows or legendaries, like there was no getting an item and having it really change the way you could play the game or what kind of build you were running. So I think that was the part people probably weren't happy about on your survey. Yeah.
So what do you feel about that one, Nerdwords?
Yeah, I mean, I would say no. I would say absolutely no, because where there were like you had a selection of skills and like different things, you didn't have transmogrification the way we do now, where you could adjust your appearance. You didn't have, I mean, really. Like you had different skills you could use, but I mean, if you're trying to clear Act 2 Inferno, there was only Blizzard Hydra that would work for Wizard at that time. Like it was a weird build with Piercing Orb and Hydra and Blizzard. I mean, the glory days, right? But like you couldn't exactly like run an Archon build and clear that. You know what I mean? Like there wasn't flexibility if you were trying to actually like progress, I guess, in the game. If you were like staying in the normal difficulties and out leveling it, then sure, there was flexibility. But I guess it depends on the difficulty curve. And back then you didn't have the flexibility of the difficulty system now, because you just had the 4 difficulties. So
yeah,
I would say absolutely no flexibility whatsoever.
Well, flexibility is not the actual term. The term was highly customizable. To quote what Jay said.
Yeah,
and obviously it was customizable, but you could. There was 40 different ways to suck, basically.
Yes, exactly.
Many ways.
There was one way to succeed, and it was mostly luck based and hoping for good drops from barrels, and that it just, I don't know, it just didn't feel great at the beginning, but it feels, I mean, now absolutely huge. I mean, it really feels like every point that was made in those pillars, like they went back to the original pillars for ROS, because it feels like they really nailed it on the head for all of these in the new version of the game.
I don't know.
There's people who would argue against that, though, because, I mean, what do you want, and what percent of your gear do you want the exact same stats with every class? You know?
Right.
You always want main stat, you always want Vit, you always want Resol, whatever. You always want cooldown.
Yeah, but I guess if that's the case, then every RPG is like that, because there's no RPG where that's not the case. It's
Well, I mean, Diablo 2 had a lot more variable stats, in terms of casting speed, and there were different kinds of damage actually mattered.
Right.
As opposed to just being a different color of damage that we have in Diablo 3.
Yeah, and I mean, different builds worked a little bit better for Diablo 2, but you didn't have the dynamic scaling difficulty. I mean, we did, but not. I mean, we had players 8, but we didn't have the whole Torment system we have now. So you can kind of choose your own difficulty. And I mean, Torment 6, there's a lot of builds you can use at Torment 6. You can't use at Greater Rift 50, but that's what happens when difficulty gets harder. You have to pigeonhole into what is successful, and what is successful is used by the top at the leaderboards, and that's what people use. So it's a cyclical problem, but I do feel like that there is flexibility with the class if you remove that top end. If you're just talking about the average gamer that's playing T2, T3, you could run I could run Frozen Orb, and that would be successful on T2 or T3. But
probably on T6, really.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. So
that's why T6 is the highest difficulty. It's it's not that hard.
Right, but Diablo 2 definitely had a more elaborate system for flexibility and a lot more options. But I mean, even so, I mean, still, like, it's not like you were. I mean, there were certain builds you were still pigeonholed into in Diablo 2 based on your rune words you had built or your legendaries you had. So it's always been that way, and it always is at the top end of like action RPGs and MMORPGs. So flexibility is kind of a loose term to use in this genre of games, but I feel like Reaper of Souls is one of the more successful at giving you options.
What about the flexibility of the game?
There you go.
Okay, next point. This is the one where you both laugh out loud.
All right.
Yeah.
4th pillar, great item game.
Oh gosh. Yeah, I don't even think. Do we even have to?
94% of people feel that was not lived up to.
Do we even have to discuss that? I feel like that was the worst part of Diablo.
It launched, certainly. Obviously, that's been vastly improved upon.
Oh, yeah.
That was one of the things that Josh said in his GDC preview. He's like, well, we were really pressed on time, so legendaries didn't get worked as much. I'm like, you took 10 years to make the game.
Yeah.
And I remember Azure was doing those articles for us on the economy site back in the day, and he wrote 3 or 4 articles, like months, 6 months, 8 months for release. All the legendaries on the because they put the legendary items up on the Battle.net site. You could see sort of the early versions. They were horrible. They were just stat sticks. They had no good values. They were lower quality than rares. And people kept saying, these are terrible, what's going on? And Bashiak would be like, oh, these are just the rough drafts. We're going to get the better ones up there later. And then, 2 months later, oh, these are the rough drafts. And then somehow at launch, they were still the same terrible uniques that everybody looked at and said, these are crap 8, 10, 12 months in advance.
Yep.
And in retrospect, I don't know if you could list the 5 most important features of a Diablo game, but there's no way items... good item system isn't number 1, 2, or 3, right?
Right.
Any
Yes.
RPG.
Maybe skills and combat engine is the highest thing or something. But how could they have so completely not have noticed that the items were terrible, legendaries were terrible at launch?
Well, and he actually addressed that in that GDC conference about how they wanted to make it to where there was parity among the different levels of items, between blues and yellows and legendaries. So that was a mistake, and at least they addressed the mistake and know they made it. But yeah, obviously that was a huge flop at the release.
Yeah, well,
but Diablo 2, a lot of times, rares could be as good or better, but often the legendary would have a special property. That's what everyone was really pissed about. I think thematic was what we heard a lot before the game. Like, they should have themes. They should do interesting things. It's not just a stat stick. And Blizzard would say, yeah, that's a great idea. We should do that. And then it didn't happen until Reaper of Souls. So.
I think you've hit on something really good here, which is that even now, it would be awesome if you could pick up a rare and you could be like, oh, this rare is amazing. If all I want to do is deal damage, then I could use this. But if I want to have a legendary that does something special with a specific skill, and then doing that is actually what's going to get me more damage, then I would use a legendary. In other words, it's a trade-off. And you can guess that's actually what they probably wanted to have happened with the original, with D3V, but they never made it there because the legendaries were so crappy.
Right.
I actually had been talking about that before last year's BlizzCon. I had that as one of my questions for the interview with the dev. And then the first day they did the panel talking about, kind of the short version of Josh's talk here. And of course, one of the slides was the whole, blue item, carrot, yellow item, carrot, legendary item, saying how they wanted to have a really clear progression of quality. And as we see in the game today, legendaries have, higher stats and special properties than rares ever can have.
Right.
So I didn't ask that question because it was pretty obviously pointless. My question was going to be like, do you guys want to make it so rares can sometimes be better than legendaries just for variety?
It's like, clearly not.
No.
Rares
we
have become
are not
materials.
doing that.
Yeah.
So that was the 4th pillar. 5th pillar, endlessly replayable. What do you think about that, Nerd Words? Was Diablo 3 vanilla endlessly replayable at the start?
No, see, okay, that
got 12% approval by the way.
Right, and that's what I was going to say. Is that's completely obviously subjective. Like, I played it endlessly. It seems like I enjoyed it a lot, but whereas a lot of people didn't. So I felt like it was endlessly replayable, but I played Diablo 2 for 10 years almost. Like, every ladder reset. Oh, ladder reset. Okay, I'm back in. So it's just, I don't know. I've always enjoyed the game enough to kind of bite down and go through it. And I really, even with its problems, I still enjoyed D3 Vanilla and the Auction House and all the elements of it. I took it like on the chin and just rolled with it. And I really enjoyed the game from all different angles. Obviously, now I feel like it's far superior than it's ever been. But I played it a lot, so I would say yes. I would say that they did do that.
Where do you come in on that one, MJNspace?
I think Nerd Words is a twisted masochist.
That's been long established.
Yeah.
But, no, I think if you're going to ask people, let's go back to Pillar 3 and 4. If we're going to say the game was not customizable and it did not have a good end game, then 5 fails by default. It wasn't endlessly replayable. And I quit playing vanilla, and I think it was when I had gotten like my 4th or 5th mana core, and it was horrible for my demon hunter, and I was like, I can't get a good weapon. If I want anything better, I have to go to the auction house, and I refuse to go pay money to buy an item in a game. So I'm done. I'm not going to play this game anymore. And I didn't play the game for like 3 months. And so I would say it wasn't. I think they failed there just because highly customizable fails and because great item end game failed. So, yeah,
and I completely agree. Like and most people, a lot of people felt that way and feel that way. I honestly feel that way about the item system and the way it was. If, like you said, if A and B are so, then it must equal C. But I would feel like a hypocrite saying it wasn't endlessly replayable if I didn't log like thousands of hours in this game. So.
but it wasn't enjoyably replayable, at least not for a lot of people.
See,
So.
even with the Act 2 Inferno Wall, I had a lot of fun. I don't know. I enjoyed the difficulty. I enjoyed the auction house. I played the auction house pretty heavily. I didn't buy on real money stuff, but I definitely sold a few things. And
Oh yeah, I sold a few things. Yeah.
I did buy, I think, gold before the auction house shut down, just to stock up before it was gone, just in case, because I felt like that would be a scarcity, and now that's really funny to think about. I spent
exactly
real
what
money
How
on
many
that.
billions of gold do you have?
I spent like $20. I think it wasn't a lot, but it was enough. It's just funny. But I've always really enjoyed the game from inception, so I would feel like a hypocrite. But you're right, there were a lot of issues, and I was probably one of the more insane people that was committed to it.
I mean, I'm kind of messing with you. I think, like I've said this to Flux before too, the action RPG part of the game was fun from the very beginning, and it's fun to this day. It's
And the
just
combat's always been top notch. I mean, like,
yeah,
the action
absolutely.
in the game is so much fun.
Yeah. It's just the supporting parts of it, the things around that action that frustrated me and a lot of other people. But anyway.
Right.
So point 6, pillar 6, strong setting. Yes or no, MJNspace?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, because I guess I take that to mean like the world that Diablo is in, and the motif, the music, the art, and all that sort of stuff. And absolutely, they did a great job there. Like I said, production quality, top notch.
Did you know there was a rainbow in the game though?
There's a whole land of rainbows. Come on.
But that's different. But that only got 27% approval. So what do you think on that one, Nerdwords?
I would say yeah too. I actually would. But the setting of Diablo, being the world in and of itself, is what's always pulled me to the series. I've always been a big fan of the series. So of the story, of the world, of the aesthetic, even if it was a little less dark, as people like to say, compared to Diablo 2, I still really liked the campaign. Obviously, there were issues with the stuff that happened in some of the parts of the campaign. You could like weigh the pros and cons and the good and the bad all day, but overall, like, the experience was memorable and fun.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that was another point that Josh was hedging a little on the GDC presentation.
Yeah, I
He's
heard.
like,
I saw that line.
for playability, and he's like, well, no matter how many times you see that Cain killed by the butterfly queen, it's just if you see it 50 times, it's not cool. I'm like, it wasn't cool the first time.
The first time, I think, was still bad, but I like that I like that he called themselves out about that. That was nice.
Yeah, unskippable cutscenes was definitely an obnoxious thing, and I'm very glad those are back.
Oh yeah.
I remember the first time, I think it was I don't know if it was in Hell or Inferno, I think it was in Hell, my first Demon Hunter playing softcore, and was like way undergeared because everyone was undergeared in those days. I remember dying like 20 times on Diablo trying to beat him in Hell.
It was so hard, yeah.
And I just didn't have, I finally had to go to dual wielding and use like the bullet shot one that stuns and stuff. The build I was using, which was not going to work. And every single time, you'd have to go back to the goddamn cutscene.
Oh yeah.
And him talking, and I will boil your skull. Just this, and you could, you're hitting the spacebar so hard your thumb is bleeding. And I remember doing that until like 4 in the morning one night, like 20 straight failures. And I was ready to throw my computer through the goddamn window. I've never been that annoyed with a game.
The Belial fight, the same way, man. If you died on that Belial fight, there were 3 phases, and all 3 phases had a little mini cutscene, and then there was a cutscene before and after.
Yeah.
So it was if you died on, especially if you died on big Belial phase, man, it was frustrating, man. I get so mad.
Yeah.
But the setting was strong. I also voted yes on strong setting myself. I thought it was.
Yeah, because
kind of into the whole. That's just the whole too colorful debate. The whole art controversy thing from like 2011.
That's stupid. If you want to see, I mean, the whole game doesn't have to be so dark and like desolate and depressing. No, I think it was great.
I agree.
I never jumped on that bandwagon. Yeah.
And then you look at any random screenshot of Diablo 2, and there's neon green and neon purple champions, and the desert's entirely bright and sunny.
I just feel like people, man, they really glorify a game that is. I mean, Diablo 2 is a great game, but it's just ridiculous. Some people need to let it go.
And even in Diablo 1, I mean, the fiery, the lava cave area.
Yeah.
I mean, there's lots of really brightly colored monsters all through the game. That's how they stand out from the background. And that was, but I mean, that only got 27% approval. So that was one I voted yes on, and was amongst them the 72%
and it's mostly because
minority.
what we just said. You mentioned Belial and how much of a pain in the ass that was, but at the same time, when he grew big and that whole setting you were in with that fight specifically, and with most of the game, there were some really cool moments, and that Belial fight was one of them. The first time that Belial fight happened, I think for everyone was like, "Whoa, that was cool."
Yeah.
So.
Okay, Pillar 7, the final one of Jay Wilson's initial pillars, cooperative multiplayer. Yes or no, Nerdwords? How did that work out for Diablo 3 Vanilla?
Vanilla, I wouldn't say so at all. I would say no. I mean, obviously it existed, but there was no incentive. In fact, it was harder. It was worse to play with people, especially if you guys weren't on the exact same gear level.
I couldn't agree more. And not only that, but since damage actually scaled up
Mhm.
with the
It was
amount of
harder.
people it was harder. Like you were getting one shot by things that you didn't get one shot by alone, and you didn't have access to your follower anymore. And so it was like, yeah, it was awful. It was totally bad. So it's great. It's good now. I don't have an issue with it now, but it was pretty awful at launch.
Yeah, it's like, well, actually, it's like now I struggle with, because I play a wizard and it's mostly a solo class. You've kind of went on that a lot, Flux, about how it's annoying to play with Firebird wizards, and I always laugh. But it's true. It totally is, and it's kind of annoying to play a Firebird wizard because you have to play so much differently than other classes, and when you're in a party, there's not a whole lot of adjusting you can do to kind of stick with people, and even if you do, your dot damage isn't doing the damage fast enough, so it feels weird. So when I'm playing my wizard, I struggle with whether I want to play multiplayer or solo, because I can clear fast solo, but the drop rate's not as good. If I clear with a group, then I might have to like slow or speed up my pace, but I feel like the drops are better. So I'm always, and that was never a question in vanilla. Like never did I go, man, I feel like I'm gimping myself by playing single player. No, it was never that way. I do feel that way now, and that's why I would say it was a complete fail at launch.
Yeah, the co-op multiplayer thing, that just one thing we had a lot of comments of before the game is there were so few skills that buffed other players. I mean, the monk had a few mantras and there were a couple of war cries.
Mhm.
But I mean, compared to Diablo 2, where you just had 100% hit points, 100% damage.
Right.
I mean, if you had a monk with a paladin with fanaticism join your game in Diablo 2, you were like, okay, stoked.
Done. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Over.
Double damage, triple attack speed. It's like, okay, here we go.
Mhm.
And there was just nothing like that. I mean, and you could certainly argue that those were too powerful in Diablo, 3. And you could have, Druid in there with Oak Sage, and you suddenly got, 4 times your normal hit points or something.
Yep.
And it's like, okay, maybe this is too powerful in terms of, but that was kind of the point. And obviously, cooperative doesn't have to mean, you're guaranteed to play multiplayer. You have to have multiplayer or you feel gimped. But I was amazed how little they seemed to be doing in Diablo 3 of what Diablo 2 had in terms of the mantras in Diablo 3 are, like 10% damage. It's like,
Right.
ooh, 10%, huh?
Yeah, I think that was one of that they didn't, maybe they just didn't consider that aspect of it. Like they wanted cooperative play to feel good, but they didn't really think about like creating support classes, because Diablo and most action RPGs don't play like that. But they seem to have a better handle on it now, at least kind of with some classes.
And not even getting into the whole lack of decent chat channels and lack of decent,
Right.
No clan support, no friends
Yeah.
list.
So yeah, how could that even?
That's all the other cooperative multiplayer
Yeah, that's
stuff.
total fail. It has to be a total fail. Like there's no way.
Yeah.
Yeah, that got ugly in a fat. That got ugly in a hurry.
Yeah,
Well,
you mentioned clans, and it's like, yeah, I can't even imagine that not being in the game now. Like that's
Yeah.
That wasn't until Reaper of Souls.
I know.
I mean,
it's weird to think. I haven't even thought about that.
And all the social stuff. One of the problems that they have a lot is that there are only like X number of programmers handling BattleNet stuff,
Mhm.
and those are not the people handling Diablo 3
Right.
stuff. And so obviously there's a lot of other games. They were scaling up Hearthstone back in the days. Heroes of the Storm and all that kind of crap goes on. And obviously, World of Warcraft's got a lot of issues, and StarCraft has stuff to deal with. And so that's kind of why you don't see achievements added to Diablo 3 very often. And there's tons of new features they've added in Reaper of Souls that really should have achievements and don't, because that's BattleNet programming, and the BattleNet programmers are all busy making a new Druid belching animation for Hearthstone. So, so those were the 7 pillars, and obviously we have a very different vote on that today. I'm actually going to post that this week if I get around to it. Here's the 7 pillars. How would you rate them now for the game? But we can briefly mention that Josh said in his panel here he had 3 pillars for the console. And you've played at least a little console, Nerdwords. Have you played any console, MJNspace?
No, I have not. But I
You don't
definitely.
get to talk.
Yeah, I'm done. Okay, no, but I watched.
Go ahead.
I did watch I watched a bunch of people play it. Like I've watched videos about it and stuff because I was just curious, and it looks interesting. So, but anyway, go on. I'm down.
That's
to
how I
listen.
feel about pornography, actually. So the 3 pillars, just go over them quickly here. Pick up and slay, hand built for the console, and 1 couch to rule them all. Do you feel that the console lived up to those 3 pillars pretty well, Nerdwords?
Absolutely. Yes. Absolutely. I would say on all
So
3
point 1 is
accounts.
basically approachability, right? I mean, pick up and slay is approachable.
Right, yeah, and it is for sure. I mean, like I said, my girlfriend, she plays mostly like Peggle and Candy Crush and like mobile games and stuff. So she picked up Diablo and she put 800 hours into a Demon Hunter, if that tells you anything. So it's she really liked Diablo on console, and she still talks about, like, we haven't played it in a while and she wants to. So
And then one couch to rule them all is basically multiplayer, right?
Well, and I would say it's the best for that. Being somebody who does work in retail, I recommend Diablo 3 to a lot of customers because it is the only games are not made the way Diablo 3 was made for console anymore. Like you don't see 4 players on one screen games that exist for the next gen systems. Like that's just not a thing. And you have like for some systems you have like Mario Party and Smash Brothers and stuff, but for Xbox people or PlayStation people, you don't have that kind of game. You have to play online with people. You have to play, whatever. And I find it ironic that in the PC we're stuck with the online only version, whereas in the console it's literally made for a LAN party. I mean, you could have 3 friends over to your house, be drinking some beer, sit on the couch and play some Diablo, and it's so much fun. Like it's like
and you can play it offline too.
Exactly, and it harkens back to like the Gauntlet Legends, like Days of the Arcade, stuff like that. Like it just feels like that kind of aesthetic when you're playing. And you're sitting on the couch and you're like, you're talking crap to your friends and playing drinking games with legendaries drop on the ground. Whoever doesn't get a legendary has to drink. Just like silly stuff. You die, you have to drink. I mean, it's like you don't have that. I mean, I guess you could have that on the PC, but on console, it just felt more communal and like one couch to rule them all. I mean, you put Diablo in, you got a couple friends over that want to play. It's going to be a really fun night for sure.
Yeah, that's one thing I remember when they first fed that into the console is that you see the legendary drops for other people.
Yeah,
but you obviously can't pick them up. And we all wanted that for the PC.
Well, we
like
say
when you're at a party,
that we
I
want that.
See the.
We say we want that, but I don't think anybody really wants that.
Well, I don't know. I guess the problem then is people start badgering you for that item.
Then you're getting the fourth of the
If you find
drops.
a monk item when you're playing a wizard, they're going to be like, some monk's like, hey, dude.
Yeah, I suppose so. But, I mean, with smart loot and stuff the way it is now, I don't feel like people would want to go away from that at all. I feel like if we did, it would take about an hour for the forums to explode.
Well, you wouldn't be able to pick it up. You would just see.
Oh, you just see that would now
it'd be shaded out or something.
That's just messed up, man.
I mean, it's not ninja looting.
You're the masochist here. That's insane.
I'd like to see that somebody else gets a legendary. You'll hear the ding, but of course you kind of get that in clans anyway because you see when they identify it.
I can just imagine. I'm playing, playing in the game. I'm running with 3 friends, and a furnace drops, and I can't pick it up. Like what? Are you just
going ballistic?
Well, you're going to see when he IDs it anyway, though.
Well, I mean, you can see what a furnace is on the ground. Most of the legendaries you can.
Not currently though. At least not with someone else's. Okay, so anyway. Josh has 3 pillars for Reaper of Souls. Last thing here. Focus on the fantasy, endgame for everyone, and make online matter.
Mm-hmm.
Again, those are, as you said earlier, those are a little bit generic. I mean,
they're kind of.
I guess focus on the fantasy is. So how do you think it lived up to those 3? And are those specific enough to guideline you to making an actual video game?
You go first, MJ.
Let's see. So, focus on the fantasy. Obviously, they are really generic, but I think they're. For a game that already existed, they're good pillars. So, yeah, focus on the fantasy, yep. End game for everybody, he hit it on. Yep, there is an end game for everyone. Just like you said in the talk, like, you've got, what if you play 10 hours, 100 hours, or 1,000 hours? There's things you can do in the game, and that's great. I mean, but I guess my question is more about the final one, which was, like, the multiplayer one, and that...
Make online matter.
Yeah, okay, so at its core, I still really feel like D3 for the PC is a single-player game. Like the whole story is about single player, and multiplayer is fun, and I like to do it. It's my preferred way to play the game. But I don't know. I think clans are definitely less than they could be, and I also think that right now, like I love seasons, and I love how all that works. But things are a lot more fragmented now than they were before. I mean, before you had a hardcore and softcore, and that was really the only difference. But now, with seasons, and hopefully they start doing some sprint seasons and stuff. I don't know, but now you've got people doing hardcore seasonal, non-hardcore seasonal, this and that. It's like there's definitely a lot less people to connect with quickly and easily, even within a clan like Ink Gamers with a bunch of people in it. So I don't know. I think there's still a lot of work they could do around make online matter. I think there's a ton of things they could do. Anyway.
So what are your 3 on those nerd words?
I would say focus
on the fantasy, end game for everyone, make online matter.
I would say focus on the fantasy, absolutely. And I would say that because I remember seeing the trailer for Reaper of Souls, and I remember getting an idea, kind of the way you do when you see a trailer for a game or a movie or a book or whatever. You read something, you see something, you get this expectation in your head. When you put in Reaper of Souls and you played through the campaign, I feel like it met and exceeded those expectations significantly. Like from the setting to the aesthetic to Mouthail, like was a hard ass, but not like Act 2 Inferno wall hard ass. class, but he was not easy if you were trying it on any reasonable difficulty. You know, the Urzael fight was really cool. All of Westmarch was really cool. You know, those of us that have read the books and stories stuff, being in Westmarch was really cool. So I feel like focusing on the fantasy and then, you know, the Crusader and how they wanted to deliver that class, I think they hit it perfect. I mean, this is definitely my favorite iteration of a Diablo game probably ever. As much as I love Diablo 1 and 2 and have a lot of nostalgia for that, I feel like the fantasy of this game is 100% on the head.
So in game for everyone. I mean, obviously adventure mode is a. I think I would just say more variety end game is how I would say that.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess end game was nice and it's, you know, alliterative and stuff, but
I would say by definition it is like there is end game for everyone. I mean, we're assuming that end game means what to do after 70, so the person who puts in, you know, like he said, 10, 100, 1,000, like he said, there's always something to do. I don't feel like obviously everyone is happy with the amount of end game. There's other things they'd like to be able to do, but they've put some carrots out there and they put some pretty cool things. And I have liked the ancient item change. For the hours I put in, I still feel like I can find some stuff. I'm still gambling for stuff like actively. I care more than I did before they were in the game. Even with my sets that I have now, it's like, okay, I have got these sets, but I could still get some ancient boots and that would be sweet. You know, so it's, I definitely do feel like they did the endless replayability pretty well. And obviously, I'm still pouring hundreds of hours in.
So the make online matter, I tend to agree with MJ, as you said, which I like much better than my mispronunciations of his name.
See, okay, and now
plus it's also Spider-Man's girlfriend.
And now I don't know if you guys, MJ or Flux, do you guys like really push greater rifts and like push rankings and stuff, or does that not matter to you so much?
I held the number one spot in Gamers West for a long, long time. I don't have it right now. Luckily, I'm really glad because it's something to work towards. And so yeah, right. I do. Yeah.
See, for me, I because of that alone, like my friends, most of my real life friends, they'll play for a couple months or a couple weeks and then they'll stop playing. And I'll pretty much play solo for a while because all you guys play hardcore. But the chase of the leaderboards really keeps me engaged, and then being in the communities and in the clan and stuff really keeps me engaged too. And it makes me want to play even when I don't want to play. I still want to hop on and like talk to people and see what people are getting and what's going on. Yeah. So I would say that yes, because Reaper of Souls significantly improved the quality of cooperative online play, but obviously not everyone feels that way. For me, the leaderboards, even right now, I've got the rankings pulled up, like watching people jump up in spots, and I'm like, oh, I need to jump in and do some riffs. You know, it's like that. I didn't have that feeling before, you know, so it's cool to be able to have that, and I know, I don't know. I know there's other things they would like. You know, people really want PvP really bad and all these other elements.
I don't.
I'm happy with where it's at right now. Yeah, that's a topic for a lot of people. But
that's a whole other conversation.
I could care less either way, honestly. I would rather them do more content than that. But I don't know. I really feel like the cooperative multiplayer has been successful in Reaper Souls, but mostly because maybe it's by contrast. Maybe it was so bad in Diablo 3 Vanilla that by contrast in Reaper Souls, I feel like it's a godsend. But I am happy with it. I feel like they have
I see what you're saying, and I totally get it. Like, yeah, I have friends that we all are running solo riffs and talking about, you know, whoever's number one right now. I'm like, oh, wow, what did you get that made you be able to pass, you know?
Exactly, yeah. Like, I got this ancient furnace. Yeah,
yep,
you know, it's like, oh, I'm going to push to 46 or 47 now. So it's even if you're not playing in a game with a person, there's still like that discussion happening constantly during the game, and that didn't happen during vanilla.
Yeah, that's an interesting approach to that, because when I see make online matter, I think make multiplayer matter.
Yeah.
And obviously, you can play single player. I don't really care about multiplayer that much. I do it occasionally, but I'm only think of the game as MJN said. I think of it as a single-player game, basically, where you occasionally play with other people. And I think the single player is kind of the pure expression of the game. You know, your gear has to do everything for yourself.
Right.
You can't count on someone else to tank for you, or someone else to regen for you, or heal you, or whatever. Yeah. And I think I feel like it's more of a single-player game that has a multiplayer that's an online-only game. But everything you guys just said, you know, you're just saying nerd words about stuff, you know, leaderboards and having people in the clan and seeing other people's items when they identify them in the clan. All those things make online matter. Even those make the game more fun than if I were just playing it on my own machine here without any connection to anybody.
Yeah, and that's how I look at it. I guess it's just a matter of perspective.
Yes, but mine is correct and yours is not.
Exactly, so that's how it works, right? And I would say too that I feel like, you know, there's a lot of people that talk about wanting trading and stuff back, and I feel like trading would hurt the cooperative multiplayer because in Diablo 2 you had trading, and what did it do? You didn't like care. People dropped items for you. You had these super powerful items. You got power level super fast. Like, I mean, power leveling doesn't matter so much because, I mean, what is leveling? It's a gate towards end game. Like, it's a, you have to do this much work to be able to play, you know, the end game. So it's never been, the game is never about the leveling process. That's just the experience going up. So it's in Diablo 2, I feel like the ability to trade really, you know, like they said, you spent more time trying to find items or trade runes or trade SOJs for other items or whatever, that like you weren't playing the game. And in this one, it's more incentive to jump in with the game filled with people because you get better drops. It's faster clear times unless you're a ridiculous demon hunter like Flux. And, you know, in which case you just get a demon hunter coming with you and then you're good. But it's, I don't know. I have enjoyed the cooperative multiplayer a lot more in Reaper of Souls, but again, that could be, you know, just contrasting to the terrible multiplayer of vanilla.
The lack of multiplayer from vanilla.
Yeah.
So vanilla had multiplayer, but it didn't have any online mattering stuff, you know.
And there weren't
it didn't have clans or.
Am I
you know,
remembering
any
correctly that there
stuff.
weren't even buffs? Like you didn't get any like sort of drop buffs for being in a party with people?
Yeah, there was no buffs when the game first came
Yeah,
out.
I didn't
It was
think
just it was
so.
just ridiculously harder. All the monsters had double, triple, quadruple the hit points and did double, triple, quadruple the damage. Yeah.
And then none of the skills were synergizing, so you weren't exactly working well together. It was just
Exactly.
you're doing the same
Yeah.
damage beside somebody else.
Yep.
Yeah, it wasn't. Yeah, now it's what is it? 50% for it's 150% hit points for two people, and then it's 50% more for each, or 75% more.
Yeah, and the
50% more for
damage
each.
doesn't go up, and the drop rate, and the drop rate's experience and gold goes up, and it's nice.
Yeah, it is.
So 4 players, it's what 250% hit points basically.
What is that?
I
Yes,
think
250% hit points. Exactly. That's exactly what it is.
I'm not sure.
Yeah,
So
so
you're
plus
getting
50% per extra person in the game.
Yeah, that's what I thought it
Yeah.
was. And obviously you get a drop rate buff, and in theory, you know, it's 400% damage, or if I'm in the game, 450% damage, because I'm just like super uber that way. But yeah, obviously, yeah. I mean, it's a benefit to playing that way. I just don't. The playstyle usually feels so frantic and scrambling. I mean, obviously it can be very scientific. I played recently, did a couple of the other guy in our clan, this guy Cornkills, who has just recently surpassed my time on Greater Rift 40. I think he was the second person to do a Greater Rift 40 in our clan with his Demon Hunter. But we did a couple of 2-player rifts, just I don't know, did 37 or 38 just kind of for fun. And it was, you know, we're basically have the same build with the cold cluster bear.
Yep.
But it was fun because we both knew what we're doing. We're both being, you know, very carefully advancing, and there's just this non-stop, you know, bombardment of freezing tentacles hitting things.
Yeah.
And it was kind of fun to have someone else. We were doing sort of the same thing, and every now and then one of us would dart in to grab a couple of health globes, you know, but knowing we both get a huge resource buff from that.
Yep.
And just recently, I saw him and some other guys in the clan were all they did Greater Rift, I think 40 through 44, all on a 4-player party. You know, each one they would ding the new record for the clan.
Nice.
And seeing it done, I'm like, oh, so obviously they're playing, you know, scientifically and practicing. You know, they had a nice mixed group and stuff.
Yeah,
That can be, but so often
Yeah.
you get in a multiplayer game and there's just like, you know, there's 2 dotting Firebird wizards running everywhere, and they're just, you know, some barb is just like some
Such
barb
a
is dragging trash across the screen, you know, nonstop.
Yeah.
And it's like, this just sucks. It's just chaos, and you're just enduring it to get.
See,
the
that's the
faster
funny thing.
EXP.
I love playing with barbs, man. Like I'll run with a barb all day. I'll take the elite
You run
packs. He takes
behind a
trash
barb
mobs.
all day, at least that much.
Nah, he can't catch me. Promise.
Well, you have your super fast and vulnerability forever things.
Well, Krelm's buff belt, the Wars of Carrion arm guards, illusionist passive, full run speed, obviously, and then the Boon of the Hoarder. You good luck catching me.
And yeah, well, everything you leave behind you is only a third dead, though. So that's another problem.
Not on T6. It is dead.
But they die eventually.
No.
Okay, so we reached our allotted time. Any last thoughts on this whole pillars thing? Any pillars you think are essential for the next expansion, or I mean, do they seem to keep doing what they're doing?
I feel like they've got a successful model. I want to see what they're sitting on, because I feel like with the move to the new servers or whatever they did, I feel like they would not have done that if there was not something coming, obviously. And with all the conventions coming up and E3 coming up and stuff, I'm really getting itchy, man. I'm getting itchy. I want to know what the next step is. I'm excited for the patch, but I want to know where the story's going. I want to know if we're getting an act, if it's just going to be a kind of a DLC thing, or if we're just going to keep doing patches. I don't know. I just want a statement on what is coming. But obviously, soon, TM.
Let's see. Well, first of all, the video's gone off of your site, and they removed it off of YouTube. I don't know why. So hopefully we can find a link that people can look at.
Good thing I typed up a transcript, huh?
Yeah, exactly. But overall, I really just like Josh's attitude,
Yes.
and his view on the game. And so, I'm not really waiting for anything particular, especially since I don't think D3 is a moneymaker, for them, to put it mildly. But I think whatever happens from here, Josh is going to, as kind of the lead game designer, really helped push it in the right direction. So I like his attitude. I think it's refreshing, and he's humble in the right way, and really kind of aggressively going after what he wants in the right way. So yeah, I'm okay with what happens from here, and I'll enjoy playing the game.
I just realized there's been a terrible lack of Jay Wilson jokes on this show.
Well,
you would have thought going in there just being nonstop.
Yeah.
Like to blame someone for the problems, but it's like, oh, Josh is wonderful. Everything's great now. Well, the checks are in the mail. Huh? Do you have your correct mailing address, Nerdword?
I don't know. I can give it to him.
I'll check and make sure they have the right, because you wouldn't want the check to go to the wrong address.
Bad.
You know,
It'd be very bad. Now, I will say, actually, not trying to throw the early team under the bus or anything, but I really feel like, just based on talking about the pillars the way we did and going over each one from vanilla to ROS, it seems like the team now, I mean, it feels that way too. It seems like the team now has a better idea of where the game needs to be for the player base and for the longevity of the game. And they've got a really great staff of people. I mean, all of the developers that we've met or talked to or that are on the live streams, you know, from John Yang to Don Wu, to Wyatt, obviously, Josh, they just seem like they're working really well together, and the game's, it's come a long way, man. I mean, think about how far it's come from vanilla. It's insane, and I'm really excited to see the next step for sure.
Okay, I'll make sure the check is definitely in the mail.
Yes, definitely in the mail.
Everything was wonderful. The one thing that I keep wanting to digress here about the whole, because I was obviously following this game closer than most people for the years that, leading up to it, and I saw all these arguments evolving over time, and then when Josh kind of references them, some of these things, it's a little bit of a, okay, that's not exactly how it was back in the day, but it plays better now. And obviously they might have a different POV on it than I did. I mean, they were inside the fortress, and I was outside with the Indians circling it, shooting arrows on fire at them, so sort of thing. I guess they're Demon Hunter Indians. But and I've lost the one I was going to talk. One of the things that Josh said is they tried to be too much like Diablo 2, like basically, obviously the Inferno, the 4 difficulties you repeat exactly, that kind of thing. Which was obviously something that I think we were happy to not have anymore. Dynamic difficulty is much better.
Yeah.
I remember about the 10th time you made a new character in vanilla, you were like, oh my god, I'm only on hell. I've still got to go through all of hell before I get to Inferno.
Oh god, that was so.
And you're level 54 already. You're like, I'm going to level up 3 times in the next 2 hours. Like, oh, this sucks. But yeah, the irony of that, of course, was pre-game we had endless debates about why they were trying to reinvent the wheel so much with Diablo 3. Like all these things that were sort of the established, criteria. This is how ARPGs work. This is what Diablo 2 did. And the fact that they had such almost a complete churn of the team, and everybody who actually made Diablo 2 was gone. There were a few people who were added to Blizzard North while Diablo 2 was still there, but that was years after the launch that came out. At least the primary people anyway. And it just seemed like they were trying to reinvent stuff and trying to redo the skill system and all these things they were trying too much to make their own stamp on it. People who hadn't made an RPG before. And it seemed like that sort of was, proved out in the pudding, right? I mean, that's why everything was so improved in the next 2 years, because they'd made an RPG now, and they knew what worked and what didn't, and they were able to change stuff and advance it.
Yeah.
And the fact that nobody had any real experience with that coming in, so it was kind of funny to hear Josh saying that they were too slavishly devoted to Diablo 2 when we felt pre-game quite a bit they were exactly the opposite. They were making too many changes for the sake of making changes.
Yeah.
That was good. You're right in sync. Like it was like the Moo thing at the end.
Well, I don't think it was D2 that they were a slave to. I think it was the WoW complex that they were a slave to. And I think, that's something else to get into later. But I mean, I think they kind of thought they knew a lot about what gamers wanted, and I think they thought they knew what was going to be good in a certain sense. So good that they didn't even have to beta test their own game. And then when it came out, they suddenly realized, oh, maybe we don't know what this special group of players that had all this nostalgia for D2 and is a completely different set of people that play games than the people that play WoW. Maybe we really don't actually know what they wanted. So, I don't know.
Bygones be bygones.
Yep.
Nevermore. Okay. You're listening to the Diablo 3 podcast. We are online at DiabloGamers.com, and we'll be back next week to insult Jay Wilson some more.
Moo.
If you have 3 Jay Wilson spread up to their neck in sand, what do you not have enough of?
Sand.
More sand. If you were in a room with Jay Wilson, Hitler, and Osama bin Laden, and you had a gun with 2 bullets, where would you shoot Jay Wilson the second time? You guys got any?
I have none. No, I don't.
I don't.
First of all, Hitler and Osama bin Laden are already dead, so that would
Yeah,
that would make one hell.
Yeah, that joke is now outdated, I believe. It is
Oh well.
lived out.
All
its
my
life.
jokes are outdated. I think that explains a lot of my social life too. But... Okay, you listening to that podcast? Moo. Bye bye.
Moo.
Bye.